This week, I'm heading down to Southern California to check out some paddle surfing breaks between Encinitas and Dana Point.
Blue, you're my boy!
I'm bringing my big board to 8-2 Beeline because I'm looking for a little bit of glide.
Made up my mind, making you start. Going to California with an aching in my heart.
It is glassy today here down in Encinitas. Like, there is absolutely no wind. I think Boneyards at Swami's and Cardiff Reef are going to be my two spots of this trip. Swami's itself is a no-go for stand-up paddle, but just off to the surfer's left is a break known as Boneyards. There's way less people there. The wave isn't quite as good, but welcome to the world of stand-up paddle surf. Cardiff looks a little bigger. Wave has really good form, actually.
There are all kinds of breaks between San Diego and Dana Point. A few famous ones like Blacks and Trestles are off limits for paddle surfing, but the area has a pretty rich history in paddle surfing, and the surfers are used to seeing the odd stand-up in the lineup. Like any area, you have to be respectful. Find your own peaks, stay out of the packs, wait out on the shoulders, sit down in the lineup when you can, but overall the vibe's pretty good along this coast, especially if you stick to the breaks that are used to having paddle surfers out in the lineup. I'm going to be focusing on the area between Encinitas and Dana Point. There are a number of breaks between San Diego and Encinitas, but my favorite zone is definitely a little bit further north. All the spots on this list are pretty well-known spots. You can find them all over the internet, where to surf sites, Reddit, YouTube. I won't go over any secret spots here. And keep in mind, I'm not a local, so if you think I've missed anything or have anything wrong, please leave a comment down below. But from my experience along this coast, these are my favorite places to paddle surf. We'll start from the bottom and work our way up. We'll look at Cardiff Reef, Boneyards near Swami's, Grandview Beach, Oceanside, Onofre, and Doheny.
Oh man, I just got a couple head high, maybe even a little overhead at Cardiff. Man, I forgot what it's like to catch waves that have a little bit of push. Man, it's a beautiful wave for SUP surfing.
Of all the spots we're looking at, Cardiff Reef had the most going on. It had the most swell, the most water moving around, the biggest waves, the biggest crowd. There was just a lot going on out there. The vibe was really cool and everyone was friendly enough, but I really felt like I had to be quite aware out there. I mean, of course, you have to be aware wherever you surf. It just required a little more focus than some of the other spots, but the payoff was worth it. The waves were great. They had good form, good push. It's really an excellent wave for paddle surfing. Coming into Cardiff, you can park either along the highway on the road, or you can pay the fee and park in the state lot. Out in the lineup, I found sitting out on the shoulder to be the way to go. Often some big sets would come through that would clean out the pack, and I'd be able to pick them off on the side. Or a surfer on the wave would fall, and I'd be able to pick off the leftovers. And even then, a leftover at this break is still a really long ride. Now this guy here way on the inside, maybe he's a local and knows what he's doing, but I wouldn't suggest that. I'd stay out on the shoulder looking for those ones that came through empty. But then again, when I was there, an old guy, he had to be in his mid to late 60s, paddled straight out into the middle of the lineup. He looked like he knew what he was doing. So if you think I'm missing something, please leave a comment down below and let me know. But even for us less experienced paddle surfers, picking waves off on the shoulders can still make for a great day at Cardiff. Next on the list, and just a little bit further up the coast from Cardiff, is Boneyards. Now from what I understand, Boneyards is officially the peaks between Swami's and D Street. But when people talk about surfing Boneyards, they're often talking about the first break past Swami's. To get to Boneyards, you can either park at the Swami's lot if you can find a space, or in the road out front. Then you make your way down the stairs with the rest of the surfers, and then head out towards the point and around to the open beach. There, you'll find a long stretch with a bunch of peaks. And the further you go, the less crowded it is. Go far enough and you're sure to find a peak all to yourself. And the waves over there in general are pretty chill. You'll find both lefts and rights, and in the lineup you'll be sitting with beginner longboarders, shortboarders, paddle surfers, and maybe even some foilers. This is a great location for intermediate paddle surfers looking for something a little more relaxed than Cardiff. It also hits the mark for any surfer looking to find a bit of solitude out on the water. Just a little bit further up the coast, and still in front of the Encinitas cliffs, is Grandview Beach. It ended up being the biggest surprise of the trip for me, and I had a few great sessions up there.
It was glassy, hardly anyone out, shoulder to head high waves. It was so good. And then I broke my paddle.
I think I scored as far as the tide and swell went, and I picked a good time to go. The waves were about shoulder high, really nice form, the crowds weren't too bad, and it was really fun. It was very similar to Boneyards as far as shape and the vibe in the water. I think it's considered a beginner's beach by the locals. If you know anything more about this location, please leave a comment down below. But for me, I just really like the setting, I like the vibe, and the wave was really fun. Overall, another great location for paddle surfing. The next one is a bit further of a jump up the coast to Oceanside. For paddle surfing, the most appropriate place to go is Strand Beach, halfway between the pier and the jetty. If you're surfing in front of the pink A-frames, you're in the right spot. There, you'll find a beach break that with the right swell produces some great lefts and rights. One thing I found a challenge here was parking. I found a paid lot kind of close to the beach, and there's some paid street parking around the area. But if any of you have any recommendations on where to park, please leave a comment down below. There's not a whole lot more for me to say on this one, so let's jump 30 minutes up the coast to a spot that probably deserves its own video, Onofre State Beach. Sano's probably the most popular break to paddle surf up in the San Clemente and Dana Point area. It's also a region where they segregate paddle surfing from the regular surfers. At Sano, the SUP zone is on the very south end at Dog Patch. The waves down that end tend to be a little bit softer than the waves further up the beach, and from my experience there, this break is quite friendly for all levels. Out in the water you'll find lefts and rights. The vibe at Sano is incredibly chill, and on the weekends it's packed with families spending the full day at the beach. I was there during a weekday, and there's a lot of retired guys out there just hanging out. Sano is a state park, so you have to pay to park, and it can get pretty busy on weekends, so make sure you get there early if it's a Saturday or Sunday. The last one on the list is Doheny up in Dana Point. Like Sano, this is also a state park, and you have to pay to park. And when I say this is a beach park, I truly mean a beach park. This has all kinds of facilities. Barbecue pits, washrooms, beach volleyball. Doheny is fully loaded. Also like Sano, out in the water, the break is divided into two zones. That's Thor's hammer right behind me there. You're allowed to stand up paddle on this side, but you're not allowed to stand up paddle on this side. The waves at Doheny are usually very mellow. On the right side of the hammer, you'll find mostly longboarders. On the left, a mix of longboarders and paddle surfers. This is a family-friendly break, lots of beginners, and it actually can get quite crowded. But if you pick the right time, you can get some pretty empty waves and some fun ones when the swell is right. Another great thing about Doheny is just how close it is to the Encinitas surf shop, which every paddle surfer should visit if they're in the area. And if you need any rentals, boards, paddles, these guys have you covered. And there you have it. Those are 6 of my favorite breaks to paddle surf in Southern California. Next time, I'm going to be heading down to Nacera in Costa Rica to visit the Blue Zone SUP camp. Hit subscribe if you're interested in following along. YouTube thinks you should watch this video next. I think you should watch this one.